Here we both are, face to face. Give me your hand, squeeze mine. On this day a tragedy happened. To see if we are real men. I found it out today. I swear to you, I cried. Your poor mother, who would have thought it? So lovely, so good. She liked me, like you as her son, remember? Welcome to our episode number 48 of Around the World in 80 Tangos. And today the personal wish of Raimund comes true.
This song is Para mí es igual, which means something like I don't mind. A recording of the orchestra of Lucio Demare from 1942. Lucio Demare himself wrote the music together with Demare-Fugazot, a singer he was working in the time when this song was written. And the lyrics is written by Enrique Cadícamo, the man who lived throughout the whole 20th century from 1900 to 1999.
And it's one of your favorite songs, we can say.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs. I'm especially touched by the lyrics, but we will come later to this special quality of the song.
Let's talk about a bit Lucio Demare.
He was born 1906 and he was very early truly dedicated to the piano. He sometimes missed meals and he didn't go to play anything else than piano. And so very early, like 1914, when he was 12, he was working in a movie theater, accompanying silent movies. And then 2 years later, he was discovered by Adolfo Carabelli. He was later famous for his leadership of the Orchestra Tipica Victor and became a very important tango piano player. And this time he was a jazz player and a classic player. And he invited Lucio Demare to play in the jazz band of Nicolas Verona.
And there was a theater. They had 3 balconies with 3 different kind of music.
Yes, it was a big place and they had one balcony for a classical orchestra, one for a jazz band with Lucio Demare, and one for a tipica, for a tango orchestra. And while he was playing there, he played 3 years in this jazz band. He was learning the tricks and stunts from Minotto di Chico mainly, the first bandoneon and long-time companion of Francisco Canaro.
And then Francisco Canaro wanted to do a tour to Europe, and Minotto said, take this young guy, he's really talented, and Canaro didn't want.
Yeah, in 1926, Canaro planned a tour to Europe, and young Demare was very keen to join him, and he begged and said, I will develop, and Minotto really recommended him. And in the end, Canaro agreed, and so Demare went to Europe and was soon arranged through Canaro with 2 singers, Demare-Fugazot and Agustin Irusta. They formed a very famous trio, which was successful also with other ensembles in France and in Spain.
And he lived in Paris in this time, and he earned so much money that he could buy a car.
He was not alone there. He was with his family. He was so successful that he could make his mother live with him in a flat, and he could buy a car. So it was quite a good life for him. And one day he became friends with Carlos Gardel, and when Carlos Gardel learned that his background is Italian, he asked him, could your mama do me some pasta tonight?
And she did, I guess.
And she did. And this must have been a great time, because this was a very important period for Demare, artistical and through personal relationships. Gardel, he met Rodolfo Valentino, the first guy in a white suit he ever saw. He witnessed when Charles Lindbergh was crossing the Atlantic. He said the whole city of Paris didn't sleep that night in 1927. And the city was full of Argentinians, of tango musicians, Bianco Bachicha, Manuel Pizarro, and many others. And sometimes Demare was complaining that when you have this big amount of fine artists, there's also a big amount of people who are just pretending to be artists, and bad singers, bad musicians who try to make their money with the wave of tango, with all the successful musicians. And Demare was not very happy with that because it was always a pain for him to get rid of these people.
By the way, we have to apologize because in our episode number 47, we did a little mistake.
Yes, we got phone calls from our listeners that Achilles Rogero didn't change from the saxophone to the bandoneon, but to the violin, which is another thing. So
Even more strange.
yes, Achilles Rogero was a true violinist.
Let your pain out. Come, sit down. Let's forget what happened. That stood between us for 10 years and penetrated the heart full of wickedness. Look at me, brother. It's been a long time since we haven't seen each other nor talked. Do you realize that we are getting old? That this gray hair is paling, in which age now shows itself? All this for a few braids and the mouth, rather than the blood of the day. None of us was a coward. You threw an axe at me. I was wounded. What can you do? It happened. What? You are crying? Listen, if my old stories hurt you, let me kiss the faded once more. Then I will leave if you want me to. I don't mind. That's a typical Kadikamo, I would say.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. So it's a monologue. Two guys meet after 10 years of separation, unfriendly separation because of an incident. What's very special is this outbreak of violence. We are used to knives, we are used to shotguns in tango or to fists. People were boxing in this time. But somebody throwing an axe, this is special. And this is, I think, because this double jealousy, which is like provoked by the behavior of the other. He was first loved by the fated mother like her own son, who is the other guy on the table. One reason to be jealous. And the other is the braids and the red lips. So there was a girl also. So it's a double jealousy. And this needs an axe to solve it. And then in the end, he wants to leave, but he asks him the favor, let me kiss your dead mother the last time, then I'll leave. And this is for me a fantastic story, fantastic arch of the story.
Yeah, I read the whole story today because Kadikamo was written stories and you can't put it in parts.
That's right.
Let's come back to Demare. He had a really successful time in Paris, but then Buenos Aires was calling him back.
Yes, he was, although he was commercially very successful, he was a bit unsatisfied. He was hearing the call for orchestra tipica and he felt as a true tango person meanwhile. And so first he tried to found an orchestra still in France. He looked for Argentinian musicians, but this didn't really work out. And after his return to Buenos Aires in 1938, he succeeded and he formed his own orchestra, which was a successful group for 10 years. He made 62 recordings with Orion. The most important singers were Juan Carlos Miranda, who was also part of this recording, and later Raúl Berón. Then after 10 years, he was like changing. He was making more solo performances. He was a fine soloist on the piano. There are nice recordings of well-known tango themes, which are really amazing in his delicate interpretation of the music.
And he wrote music for movies because his brother was a really movie maker.
Yes, Lucas Demare, his brother, who also was in Europe in the 20s together with Lucio. In this time, Lucas Demare played the bandoneon. He played with tango orchestras. And later he became a director of movies, a very important figure in Argentine cinema arts. And of course, he asked Lucio Demare to write film music. When he went older, he was opening his own place, a bar where he could play and could invite musicians. It was called Malena al Sur. So he used his old hit, Malena, combined it with Al Sur. The South is always a destiny of longing and nostalgia for Argentinians, so this was a perfect name. And there he spent his last years, and he died in 1974.
This was our episode number 48 of Around the World in 80 Tangos, and today a wish came true for Raimund.
Thank you. This was Para mí es igual, I Don't Mind, a recording of 1942. Orchestra Lucio Demare, the singer was Juan Carlos Miranda. The music was written by Lucio Demare and Roberto Fugazot. The lyrics Enrique Cadícamo, and this was written in 1931. And the first recordings were also done in this time by Orchestra Típica Victor and the inevitable Francisco Canaro. And then 1942 it was Lucio Demare, and later we had some more recordings in the 50s and 60s.
And with a personal hug to our friend Stefan from Nijmegen, because Lucio Demare is his favorite orchestra, we say thank you for traveling with us through tangos we love, and we hope you enjoyed. That was
Daniela and Raimund, Tangomundo, Berlin.
Take care and stay healthy.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Estás llorando, mira si te hace daño mi pasada. Después de darle un beso a la afinada, yo me voy si vos querés, a mí es igual.